And here in New York, the luxury retailer Barneys is embroiled in a controversy that's left people spewing with anger on the store's website. At issue is what many are referring to as, quote, shopping while black. Two separate shoppers have accused Barneys of racial profiling, and another two at Macy's department store. With us now is Kareem Vessup, attorney for Kayla Phillips, who is one of the alleged victims of a shop and frisk, if you will, incident. Phillips has just filed a $5 million notice of claim against the city of New York. Kareem, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us, being a representative for your client, Kayla. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
So as I understand it, your client had received a tax refund, took that money, put it in her bank, went to Barneys and bought a designer bag, had no problems at the cashier, and then left. At the subway nearby, she was confronted by undercover policemen. You pick up there and tell me what happened.
Well, first of all, you tell it like you were there. So at the point that she enters the 59th Street, Lexington Avenue train station, she is about to swipe her Metro card. As she describes it, she's attacked. 4 undercover officers descend upon her, 2 actually grab her, and another 2 block her path, 1 preventing her from accessing the turnstile, the other blocking the exit she came from. She describes it as feeling attacked. She indicated that the individuals were out of breath, suggesting that they had actually chased her. It's about 3 blocks from the train station to the Barneys store. At that point, they started grilling her with questions about her transaction. And what was very interesting and even shocking is that they had specific details about her transaction, which obviously was surprising to her, shocking to us as we've learned about the facts moving forward in pursuit of litigation.
What kind of questions were they grilling her with?
Well, before the actual transaction, they were asking her things like, where are you from? She responded that she's from Brooklyn. Well, what are you doing here? As if she didn't belong in this particular area of the city. They asked her about the bag she purchased after she showed them a Barneys bag she was holding in her hand. And then they asked her, well, where did you get the money to pay for the bag? And she indicated, her money. And then they said, show us the card that you used to purchase the bag. And she went into her bag and she pulled out a card. And when she presented the card to the officers, there was actually a female who was one of the officers. She looked at the card and she said to her, this is not the card that you used. And she took one look at the card and she said, you know what, you're right. You're right. As a matter of fact, I used my temporary card, which is the card she received from Bank of America when she first opened her account so that she can immediately have access to her account. As she told it to me, the fact that they knew the exact card that she used was very shocking to her. It's a critical piece of information as far as we're concerned in this investigation also.
And to expedite the telling of the story so we can get to a couple of other things, why is that piece of information, the fact that they knew what card that she used or the first one that she pulled out was not the one that she used, why is that a critical piece of information?
Well, it's a key piece of information that suggests that, 1, there's racial profiling here, and 2, that there is some kind of cooperation between Barneys and the city of New York.
And I want to jump in because
Sure.
Barneys has put out a statement. They've apologized or some form of apology for these incidents, but they've also disavowed the actions of the undercover cops.
That's curious to me because you're talking about a store that's about approximately 3 blocks away from the train station. The incident took place somewhere around rush hour. So you're talking about an individual who was basically tracked down 3 blocks away from the store amongst thousands of people walking on the street and trying to access the subway. So that's telling that there was some specific information that the undercover officers had. Another thing that was telling is the fact that there was no problems with the transaction itself. She presented a card with the cashier, made the purchase, went through, presented her ID. It was a normal transaction as she describes it. But then the next thing she experiences is she gets to the subway and then there are 4 officers descending upon her.
Now, you as her representative have filed, as I understand it, a notice of claim
Yes.
with New York City. Tell us what that is, and do you plan on suing Barneys?
Yes. Specifically, a notice of claim is a legal requirement under the general municipal law. Anytime you seek to bring a lawsuit against the city of New York, you are required first to file a notice of your intention to sue with the Comptroller's Office. We've done that. The city has the right under the law, it's actually specifically Article 50 of the General Municipal Law, they have the right to conduct an investigation before a lawsuit is initiated. That's the phase that we're in right now. They're conducting their investigation. Once that investigation is completed and we've done what we're required to do under the law, it is our intention to name both the City of New York, Barneys, and also the individual police officers in the suit that we'll bring shortly.
Very, very briefly, Kareem, other than winning your lawsuit, what do you think Barney should do to make this right?
Make a difference. Make a difference. Be a leader. I think a lot of times with department stores, they try to distinguish their brand, be a trendsetter in the industry, be unique in terms of what they deliver as far as product. Be a trendsetter in terms of what we're seeing is various department stores that have a particular security policy. Be a leader in that area.
All right.
All right, set a trend there.
Kareem Vessup, thank you very much.
My problem. No, my thank you.
Well, while shopping while black controversy has entertainment mogul Jay-Z under pressure to pull out of a business deal that he has with Barneys. But Jay-Z says he's waiting on the facts and the outcome of a meeting between community leaders and Barneys. In the meantime, he's asking why he is being demonized. Pepper Miller is the president of Hunter Miller Group, which is a market research firm, and she's also the author of Black Still Matters in Marketing, and she joins us via Skype from Chicago. Hi, Pepper. It's good to see you.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for having me.
You know, this is such an interesting situation. If you were advising Jay-Z right now, what advice would you give him?
Well, I think what happened with Jay-Z, he was a little too slow to respond, and that's the problem. In the Black community in particular, we are still, as the story goes that you shared, we're still being profiled and discriminated against. And we believe that there's this unspoken obligation that we have for our celebrities and people in that light to stand up and stand with us. So, okay, it's easy behind with that. He didn't do that. But what he can do is, get on board with the leaders of senior staff with Barneys. I was reading in his statement that he's doing that, but, keeping his public abreast of what's acceptable and not acceptable. I loved what the attorney said about being a leader, giving them some suggestions about real inclusion and understanding people who are different from them, particularly African Americans who buy these badge values to confirm and create badge value items, I should say, to confirm and create who they are or who they want to be. That's an important part of Black culture, is countering negative stereotypes. So making sure that Barneys has a real inclusion policy. When you look around the store, do we see people, real diversity? The management, do we see real diversity? Having those conversations with the senior staffers of Barneys and making sure he communicates that to the public to let them know that he's standing up for them and standing with them would help his image a lot.
Well, Pepper, and there is this irony here, as you just say. I would imagine, and I wonder if you would agree with this, the whole reason that Barneys would go into to a partnership with Jay-Z is to attract the very demographic represented by these two alleged victims, Kayla Phillips as well as Trayon Christian. So you would think perhaps that they would have already been prepared for the expanded clientele.
Absolutely, but and probably in their mindset, a lot of these customers, they didn't think it through. Who do they think would come to Barneys, even though they have? It's a very, very exclusive store, so they were probably maybe expecting more clientele like a Jay-Z and his popular wife, Beyonce. So that was on their radar instead of the masses of people that Jay-Z attracts. Part of the problem with a lot of these marketers and retailers is not having conversations about race and differences and culture and how it's different. We are penalized for it. And as a result, these things happen because they don't understand, because we don't have enough conversations. A lot of these insights are not a part of their marketing plans and marketing strategies. So then they're caught off guard with situations like this. Different does not mean deficient. It's an opportunity, and race and culture has to be a part of the conversation and a part of the marketing strategy. It's so important.
Absolutely. Pepper, I just wonder, is Jay-Z caught between a rock and a hard place a little bit? Because I would imagine that this deal was done far before either of these incidents were reported in the media. The contracts had already been signed, whatever those agreements were. But also, he said in his statement that this agreement was not for his personal profit, that the proceeds would go to his foundation, which would help those in low socioeconomic status, as he says it, with socioeconomic hardship, to further their education. So it's, he was trying to do something good in society for this, and then it's sort of blown back to bite him.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I was saying he reacted too slow, and this is what he should do. But yes, on the flip side of my statement, on the other side, I do think that the public is being too hard on him as well. But what's happened is this is not the first time I think that Jay-Z was caught in a situation or like this or something like this where he was slow to respond or where the public didn't feel that he was standing up for or standing with them. I think it was with the Trayvon Martin situation. People were looking for the celebrities, the so-called popular people to kind of speak out. And eventually, I think Jay-Z and Beyonce came to a rally for Trayvon Martin's family. And sure, people were happy to see them, but they were like, he responded a little bit too slow for us. So these kinds of things are collectively being attached to Jay-Z, and it doesn't make it easy for him. It's not right. But these are things that he needs to think about, too, in terms of the public or the masses of people that he serves. There is an expectation from the Black community for him to, kind of be a little bit more in their game with them. So that's something that he needs to do some little bit more soul searching, introspection, and strategy building as well.
All right. Pepper Miller, it's always great to see you. Thank you so much.
You too. Thank you. My
Take care.
pleasure.
Bye-bye.